Okay, so we need again to talk because I've been seeing the community reaction to the latest R creator news, and honestly, people are panicking. People are angry and are saying that the game is slowing down. They're saying that the player base is gonna die before October. People are saying that Embark doesn't know what they're doing anymore. All of this started because Embark announced that instead of doing monthly major updates, they're moving to larger updates every 6 months. And apparently this is supposed to be the apocalypse, but honestly, as a casual player, I don't care. I mean, I wouldn't care if I would still play the game. And I know that sentence alone is gonna trigger people immediately, but hear me out before you start typing essays in the comments. Because I think that the community is focusing on the wrong problem. The update model is not the reason this game is struggling to keep players. The player base is not dropping because updates are going to be every 6 months. The player base is dropping because this is a $40 game with one mode. That's the actual issue. And the crazy part, well, the solution has been right there in front of Embark this entire time. A PvE mode, that's it, that's the whole thing. But for some reason, they are unbelievably stubborn about it. And I genuinely think that stubbornness is hurting the game more than economy nerf, the mobility system, or update schedule ever could. Because let's be honest for a second, if you're a casual player, if you're someone that works a job, or you have school, or you have a family, if you only play a few hours after work, not necessarily daily, you don't care if the next update is in 1 month, or in 6 months, or in 1 year. You care if the game is fun when you launched it. That's what matters. If the game is fun, people will come back. People still play old games for years without constant updates. Why? Because they enjoy the gameplay. Because they enjoy the atmosphere, because they enjoy the experience. But modern multiplayer communities became addicted to constant content injections. Battle Pass, season, mid-season patch, event, limited skin, roadmap, balance patch, meta shift, streamer reaction, tier list. Everything has to move at the speed of TikTok attention spans now. And honestly, I think it ruined multiplayer gaming. Now, to be fair, I understand why creators are worried, because for content creators and streamers, yeah, this update model is scary, because content creators survive on momentum. If there is no new content, there's less discussion. Less discussion means fewer videos. Fewer videos means less visibility. Less visibility means less players. So I understand why creators are nervous. I really do. But if your entire channel revolves around one game, a 6-month wait sounds terrifying. But even then, I still think people are focusing on the wrong issue, because the game is not bleeding players because updates are slower. The game is bleeding players because a huge group of players simply do not enjoy the PvP environment anymore, and that's the truth. And some people are afraid to say it. Let's look at the reality of extraction shooters right now. What happens to every extraction shooter eventually? Sweats, meta slaves, camping, stream sniping, no lifers optimizing every single mechanic. That's what always happens every single time. And our creators is slowly becoming the same thing. Not because the game itself is bad, not because the atmosphere is bad, not because the world is bad, actually the opposite. The world is amazing, the atmosphere is amazing, the sound design is amazing, the arc fights are amazing. That's why people are frustrated, because people love the game, but they're tired of what PvP environment is becoming. And I know some people are gonna say, bro, it's an extraction shooter, what did you expect? Yeah, I know it's extraction shooter. I know PvP is part of the identity. I am not saying remove PvP. I am not anti-PvP. I'm not saying delete extraction mechanics. I'm not saying any of this. I'm saying, why can't we have both? Why is this community acting like adding a PvE mode would somehow destroy the game? Please explain that to me, seriously, because I genuinely do not understand. Right now, the community is split into two camps. You have the people that enjoy PvP and they're playing, and then you have the people that are exhausted by the PvP environment and they quit. That's literally what's happening. And what's the solution right now for people that don't enjoy PvP? Well, uninstall the game, that's it, that's the only option. You either put up with a sweaty environment, tolerate bush campers, tolerate rats, tolerate getting third party while fighting arcs, tolerate losing gear because some guy sat in a corner for 15 minutes, or you uninstall. That's the current reality. So why not give those players another option of fucking PvE mode? Simple. And people immediately start screaming, but it will split the player base. Brother, the player base is already split. One half is actively playing, the other half left. What are we even talking about anymore? You're not protecting the player base by refusing PvE. You're actively shrinking it. And I know this because I've seen it personally. I have friends that said I'll buy the game if they get PvE. I have friends that already quit because of rats and campers. I've got friends that only want to play solo and don't want to queue up with me or with other friends because if we queue up is going to have a guaranteed sweat fest. I've literally watched it happen. People love the world of Arc Raiders. They love the settings, the fighting of the machine fighting, but they do not enjoy constantly being paranoid about other players. That's the difference. Because let's be honest, sometimes you want to chill with your friends, that's it. Not every gaming session needs to feel like a tournament qualifier. Not every raid needs to feel like life or death. Sometimes you just want to explore, fight arcs, do quests, collect loot, survive together, have funny moments, meet random people, create stories. That's what made multiplayer games magical in the first place. Experiences, not ranks, not KD ratios, not meta spreadsheets, experiences. And this is where streamer culture enters the conversation, because I genuinely think streamer influence changes games massively. Look at every multiplayer game, every single one. Eventually everything becomes optimized, everybody copies the meta, everybody runs the same builds, everybody watches tier lists, everybody watches guides, everybody min-maxes the fun out of the game. And suddenly, the atmosphere changes, the community changes, the vibe changes. Games stop feeling immersive, they start feeling competitive by default. Even games that were never supposed to be ultra competitive. And that's exactly what people are feeling in Arc Raiders right now. The raids became ultra meta. Ambush camping became dominant, efficiency replaced fun, and people are exhausted. That's the emotional core of the backlash. Not durability nerfs, not economy tweaks, not 6-month updates. People are emotionally exhausted. And again, I want to make this very clear. There are games that fuel this hyper-competitive environment. There are games where this hyper-competitive environment makes perfect sense. You have CS2, you have Valorant, Rainbow Six Siege, you have Battle Royale games. Those games are built around competition, but not every multiplayer game needs to become that. Not every game needs ranked mentality. Not every game needs esports mentality. Not every game needs players treating casual matches like military operation. And here's another thing nobody talks about enough. PvP players have so many options. Seriously, look at the market. You have CS2, Valorant, Apex, Hunt Showdown, Tarkov, PUBG, Warzone, Rainbow Six, Rust, DayZ, Marauders, Battlefield, Fortnite, Overwatch, and the list goes on. PvP players are feasting. There are endless options. But co-op PvE players, especially players that want immersive world, survival, progression, extraction mechanics, atmosphere, co-op experiences, there's honestly not that of a big list. And I'm not counting MMORPGs, that's a completely different thing. I'm talking about games where you and your friends jump in together and experience something. What do PvE players really have? I mean, from the top of my head, you have Division 2, Warframe, Destiny 2, Fallout 76, Once Human, Helldivers 2. I don't know, and honestly, that's kind of it for this specific type of experience. That's why people are begging for PvE in Arc Raiders, because the world Embark created is perfect for it. Perfect. The atmosphere alone carries the game. Just imagine dynamic Arc events, giant co-op boss fights, dangerous expeditions, scavenging runs, survival mechanics, weather system, large-scale machine invasions, co-op missions. People would eat that up. Absolutely eat that up. And before somebody says, but PvE players will finish content too fast. Okay, and PvP players don't. People are already complaining there's not enough content now. At least PvE would bring more players into the ecosystem, would give casuals a reason to stay installed, would make the game accessible to people that don't enjoy sweat-heavy environments, and honestly, we already saw this happening with Tarkov. For years, the Tarkov developers were stubborn. No PvE, that's not Tarkov. The game is supposed to be hardcore. PvP is their experience. Sounds familiar? And what happened? Well, they added PvE. And guess what? A ton of people enjoy it. A ton. And is Tarkov PvE easy? No, it's still hardcore. At least for casual players. It's still hardcore, man. And that's not all. You'll know Arena Breakout Infinite, right? Guess what? The PvE mode is currently in development. I'll keep my eye on that game also. Because what they did was amazing. They launched a limited time PvE mode, and after that asked the people, do you want this a permanent mode? 80% said yes. Of course they said yes. Because not everybody wants constant stress. Not everybody wants paranoia every second. Not everybody wants to deal with cheaters. Not everybody wants every match to feel exhausting. Some people just want to play the game. And honestly, PvE also solves another massive issue. Cheating. Because if you're playing co-op PvE with friends, who cares? Who cares if somebody has wall hacks in a PvE session? Who cares if somebody wants to ruin their own experience? The emotional impact is completely different. Well, meanwhile in PvP, well, cheaters destroy entire lobbies. They destroy trust, immersion, motivation. That's why I generally think that the smartest solution is 2 modes. That's it. Classic PvPvE, arc raiders, and a separate PvE mode. Separate progression, separate economy, separate loot pools, no transferring gear between modes. Problem solved. Now everybody can play the way they want to play. Some days, maybe I want to sweat in PvP. Other days, I just want to chill with friends and fight arcs. Why is that so controversial? Why is that such a terrifying concept to some people? And honestly, I think some PvP players are scared that if PvE exists, it will expose how many people actually prefer cooperative experiences over hyper-competitive ones. That's what I think, because I genuinely believe PvE would explode in popularity. I really do. And before anybody twists my words again, no, I'm not saying PvP should disappear. I'm saying that the game should stop forcing every player into one experience, especially when the game costs $40. That matters. This isn't free to play. People paid money, and right now, if you don't enjoy PvP, too bad. That's basically the message. And I think that's a huge mistake. Because again, people are not angry because they hate arc raiders. People are angry because they care about arc raiders. They don't want it to become every other modern multiplayer game. They don't want another ultra meta streamer controlled, sweat dominant, hyper optimized experience. People fell in love with arc raiders because it felt immersive, mysterious, atmospheric, dangerous, beautiful. And they're scared that identity is slowly disappearing under endless competitive pressure. And honestly, I understand that fear, because we've seen it happen before. So many multiplayer games lose their soul chasing competitive engagement. Everything becomes efficiency, optimization, balance, meta, rank, statistic. And eventually the experience disappears. The vibe disappears. The immersion disappears. And maybe that's the saddest thing about modern multiplayer gaming. Not that games are bad. There are amazing games today. Amazing graphics, amazing gameplay, amazing worlds. But communities and streaming culture and optimization culture sometimes suck the magic out of them, because the best gaming memories usually aren't perfect aim, perfect meta, perfect efficiency. The best memories are chaos. Funny moments, scary moments, unexpected moments, stories. That's what people remember. And honestly, Arc Raiders still has the potential to become one of the greatest multiplayer experiences out there. I truly believe that. But only if Embark stops being stubborn. Because right now, they are ignoring an entire audience. An audience that wants to love this game. An audience that wants to play this game. An audience that wants to support this game. They just don't want every single session to feel exhausting, and honestly, I think that's fair. So no, I do not think 6-month updates are the real problem. If the updates are good, people will come back. The real issue is much deeper than that. The real issue is that Arc Raiders is slowly forcing itself into the same competitive mold that every multiplayer game eventually falls into. And if Embark really wants this game to survive long term, well, I genuinely believe that they need to stop treating PvE like some forbidden idea. Because I honestly think PvE wouldn't kill Arc Raiders. I think it would save it. I'm not saying remove players, I'm not saying remove extraction, I'm not saying remove the tension, the risk, the competition, the atmosphere, the arcs, the gear fear, any of it. What I'm saying is, what if you kept all of that, but just remove the ability for players to directly kill each other? You still see other players, you still race for loot, you still fight over objectives, you still decide whether to help somebody or ignore them. The world still feels alive, because the problem, at least for me, was never other players existing. The problem was spending 40 minutes gearing up just to get deleted by a dude hiding in a bush for half an hour. And if Starkov can add PvE, if ABI can add PvE, maybe the question isn't whether Arc Raiders should have PvE. Maybe the question is how many players have to leave before they realize it would benefit them. Maybe do like ABI, have a limited PvE mode. Then they can ask the community and see what they say after actually playing that mode. Anyway, that's my take, and honestly, I'm curious what you guys think. Do you think PvE would help the game, or do you think it would ruin the identity of Arc Raiders? Let me know, and as always, thanks for watching. Critical out.